Hey there and welcome. Look, if you've ever been stuck dealing with broken features, frustrated teams, and just endless debugging, you know exactly what API chaos feels like. Today, we're going to take all that disorganization and turn it into a streamlined, really powerful process. Let's get into it.
So first, let's just set the stage a little. We're talking about that friction, that super frustrating, time-sucking feeling when your APIs aren't clearly defined and nobody seems to be on the same page.
Does this sound familiar? I bet it does. You have documentation, sure, but the second the code changes, that doc becomes basically useless, a historical artifact. It is one of the biggest red flags that you are living in a state of API chaos.
And this right here, this is the fallout. The front-end team builds something based on the docs, only to find out the back-end changed a week ago. QA is spending hours, literally hours, writing manual tests for every tiny update. And onboarding new developers, it takes forever because there's no single source of truth. The result is always the same: broken apps and just so much wasted time. So the big question is, how do we actually fix this? Well, the solution is to create a blueprint, a single authoritative plan that everyone on the team, and I mean everyone, can read, understand, and build from. And that is exactly where OpenAPI and Swagger come into the picture. Let's start with the foundation itself. The OpenAPI specification, or OAS, is basically the universal language for describing your API. It's written in a really simple format like WAML or JSON, and it acts as the official rulebook that your entire API has to follow, period. And what's so powerful here is the level of detail. I mean, the spec leaves absolutely no room for guessing. It defines exactly what your endpoints are, what data you can send, what kind of response you should expect to get back, how to authenticate, and even the precise structure of your data. No more back and forth, no more, I thought you meant this. Okay, so if OpenAPI is the blueprint, then what is Swagger? This is something that trips a lot of people up. Swagger is not the spec itself. You can think of it as the workshop. It's a whole collection of awesome tools that help you create, visualize, and work with that OpenAPI blueprint. And here are the main tools in that workshop. You've got the editor for actually writing and checking your spec. You've got Swagger UI, which turns your spec into beautiful interactive documentation. And then there's CodeGen, which can automatically generate a ton of boilerplate code for your clients and servers. It's a whole ecosystem designed to bring that blueprint to life. So just to nail this down one last time, OpenAPI is the standard, the blueprint. Swagger gives you the tools, the workshop to build from that blueprint. It's a simple distinction, but a really important one. Now, let's see how we can take this blueprint and make it part of our everyday workflow using Postman. All right, now that we have this perfect blueprint, we need to bring it into the place where we're actually going to test and interact with our API. It's time to bring it into Postman. And here's the great news. Postman is totally fluent in this language. It doesn't matter if you're using an older Swagger spec or the very latest OpenAPI version. Postman gets it. It understands it all. And getting your blueprint into Postman is incredibly easy. Seriously, you can just upload a file right from your computer, paste in a URL to a spec that's hosted online, or you can even sync it directly with a repository like Swagger Hub. It really just takes a few clicks. Okay, now this is where the real magic happens. Once you import that spec, Postman doesn't just see it as documentation. It sees it as a contract, a set of rules that it can now automatically enforce for you. So what do we mean by an API contract? Think of it like a formal, binding agreement between all your teams. The backend agrees to build exactly what's in the contract, and the front-end and QA teams agree to use it exactly as it's defined. If anyone breaks that contract, well, the application breaks. Postman uses the schema from your blueprint to automatically test this contract. It will instantly flag responses that are missing required information, or have the wrong data types, or include weird extra fields that shouldn't be there. You know, all those frustrating little bugs that can take hours to track down by hand. And this right here shows you how it works. With just a single line of test code, Postman compares the real API response against the schema that was defined in your contract. See, this isn't just documentation anymore. It's an executable, automated test that runs every single time. So let's pull all of this together and see what your powerful new workflow looks like now that you've moved from that chaos to a clear, enforceable contract. The second you import your spec, the benefits are immediate. Postman automatically generates a full collection of requests for you, so you don't have to build them all by hand. Your documentation is now dynamic. It's always reflecting that single source of truth.
And those super important contract tests, they're already built in and ready to go. So here it is, your new 4-step process. You start with the spec, you import it into Postman, you add your variables for different environments like your base URL, and then you just run the entire collection. With one click, you're running smoke tests, regression tests, and most importantly, you're validating that your API contract has not been broken.
So I'm going to leave you with this question. Right now, is your API contract just some document that's sitting in a wiki somewhere slowly getting out of date? Or is it a living, breathing reality that is automatically enforced with every single build? By combining OpenAPI and Postman, you can finally make it a reality.